funding of social activity, even in areas where the government cannot go, will not go, or doesn't want to go. And why are they so concerned? And my mind goes back to 1976. I was a reporter in Delhi when Mrs. Indira Gandhi, at the height of the state of emergency, and I have 2 books on it, suddenly launched the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act. She launched it to control the West German socialist world's financing to George Fernandez and possibly to the JP movement. Nobody has ever been able to produce any files. If the JP movement, the entire anti-corruption movement of that time, the Nirman movements, if they were foreign inspired or foreign funding, there's been no subsequent evidence of that. But at that moment in history, she thought that she had evidence that they were financing it, and she brought in this law to expressly prevent Gandhian and socialist institutions accepting money from German and other European societies. This was before the European Union, so you have to make regulations for every country. And we have today in the audience, I see from some of the names, some very eminent people who have been in government's audit and accounts processes and who maybe know more about this than many of us here. So I particularly acknowledge the presence of Mr. Joshi, who just retired. The controlling factor of the FCRA has been the one constant in its 50-year-old journey through time and history and regime changes in India, political changes in India, and in fact, changes in the structure of NGOs. In 75, nobody had ever heard of CSR, and the fact that many NGOs could be financed by the corporates, could get money from the mother organization through other means. But those were, of course, the days of Hawala, and we knew how money could be got into it. But churches in particular and large organizations never got money through Hawala. They always, I use the word large in those that are officially registered bodies and not bodies which are not registered and continue to get, I suppose, funds through Hawala. But the fact that government was so concerned with control of access of money to organizations was an issue of study. Why was government so interested? Could foreign funders, just by the act of giving money and with strings attached to it, influence policy in India, influence mass movements in India, influence other political activity or socio-political economic activity? Government of the day thought that, and Mrs. Gandhi's kitchen cabinet had some real giants in the intellectual world. So maybe she had some reasons. But over governments changes came and went. All sorts of governments came, short-lived, long-lived, BJP's Atal Bihari Vajpayee and Mr. Modi's regime. All of them have seen fit to retain this emergency law. They have ranted and raged against the emergency, but they've retained this most potent of the emergency laws, apart from the compulsory arrest of anybody deemed to be anti-national. So anti-nationalism on one hand and foreign funding on the other are the two menaces that every successive government has thought it important to contain and curtail with heavy penalties. So that is the socio-political, historical background of the FCRA. I thought we should always remember when we wonder why Mr. Modi is so harsh on us. Every government has been very, very harsh on us in that manner. The second issue is, why is this deemed to be more harsh than those days? I mean, even in those days, Church was getting money from Germany. Germany is among the very few countries in the world which has a compulsory religious tax. And it is by law, it's required to give that money to all religious organizations of the world, irrespective of whatever faith. So Hindu organizations get German money, which will surprise many people. Muslim organizations get German money, and of course, Zoroastrians and every other religious organization gets some or a larger amount of German money. Why is this suddenly become so important? I think from my knowledge of the Indian church in particular and some of the other religious groups, I would say that it catches them on two very important points. The first point is it catches them on is the fact that so far, all these 50 years and all the 75 years for other laws, church groups, Hindu church, Muslim church, I use the term church as a religious superstructure. People, the hierarchy, and the institution that they build have a very close relations with any government that comes into power. Whether it's the Muslims or the Sikhs or the Hindus and the Christians, they have, by virtue of the control of the minds of people and the fact that they can influence vote, they have a very cozy relationship with government, with the bureaucracy, with all sorts of the judiciary. So it has been not a Modi religion, not a Godi religion, but at ease with the state. Give unto Caesar what is due unto Caesar, give unto God what is due unto God. And they've taken it literally and given generously to both to acquire some sort of a peace. So this was one. This cozy relationship with a little policing here and there was rudely shaken. The second is the requirement, which is to be true to law, to fulfill all requirements of law, has suddenly been imposed. You are all supposed to keep records, you're all supposed to keep documents, you're all supposed to be legal and upright in your activity, both in terms of morality, turpitude or otherwise, and in terms of regulations. Every step has to be followed. Sunday must be an off, staff must get things, and you must keep your accounts good. This was true for religious organizations. It was also true for civil society, secular organizations, which were getting funds. Some of them were large and by design had all these steps built into it. They had internal auditors, they had external auditors, they had high-paid staff showing that nothing illegal was done. Some were mom and pop stores where 2 or 3 people got together, often mother and father actually, and set up a small project and had somebody give them funds, and they did it. And there was a third account, which was innocent people, Catholic priests and nuns, who were getting it in good faith, spending it in good faith, and forgot that good faith also required a good audit. And suddenly they have been asked to show that where did the funds come from, where did you spend it? And now this last amendment, and even I would rebel against it, is that by default or whatever, by mistake, structures that were built up, cars that were bought, buildings that were institutions, schools, colleges, hospitals that were built up with the FCRA funding are suddenly deemed to be illegal if there was any illegality in the auditing of it, in the accounting of which way the funds were given, in how you retained your registration, how you fulfilled the government requirements at every step, all along, all the way back to 1975 in a manner of speaking. Because it is not about buildings that will erect from now on. It's about buildings you've erected. So I don't know how many famous schools and colleges built after 75 would suddenly find that the new owners are the local district magistrate. And that has got very worrisome because people are wondering how back will accountancy go? How back will the CA look? How back will governments, the equivalent of the IRS, will search? And that is worrisome to many because there's a guilty conscience, because maybe they have defaulted. There's a worry because of ignorance. Maybe without a design, without wanting to break the law, possibly they've broken the law. It's like jumping a red light when there was no red light blinking. And then you worry, did the camera click you and whether it clicked you and whether you get a 10,000 rupee challan or it will be ignored. And these are reasons for worry. And this is one of the reasons that we thought it important to have this seminar, so that common questions which have been agitating the minds of common people who have been running small to large NGOs over the last so many years have invested a lifetime. Please understand, they have not only built an institution, they've serviced people, and they've invested of their own energy, their own faith, their own conscience in all this activity. Collectively, I think this is a body that needs to be assuaged by the government, to be told that what you have done in good faith will not be challenged, will not be taken over, that this is not an instrument of grabbing your properties. This is not an instrument of killing your faith, and certainly not an instrument to kill your outreach among the people. Thank you very much.